All right, gonna do another sketchbook tour real quick. It's 7 a.m. Got jungle music playing. I'm gonna be talking. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, so I had a couple of these sketchbooks and I did some Posca marker stuff on them and ended up looking pretty good. So first page, did some mech silhouettes, just regular pen, ink pen or whatever. Started doing these like simple perspective grids, just trying to like draw cities or whatever. Lots of half abandoned projects. I remember this little mech thing, sort of like, I don't know what animal you compare it to. It's not really a horse, but it's kind of quadruped. I drew that a couple times. I also started doing these little comic book, kind of like dividing things into panels and just drawing little landscapes. Got a guy looking at a thing there. Yeah, just like mechs and little thumbnail landscapes, little graffiti. I started drawing, let's see if this is, yeah, that's in perspective. Okay. I started drawing like more like longer women characters just because I had all this space, so I'd kind of make them taller. Started doing hand poses. I remember this, I drew this around Christmas time. It's pretty far away, but it was just like a little doodly landscape, and it kind of ended with this character. You got an ice rink, some snow presents, and then I was writing like lots of notes around the time. I didn't used to write any words or anything in my sketchbook, and this time I was like, I'm just gonna like write down every single idea I have. This stuff, yeah, these were actually references from a fashion book. I highly recommend that. Finding like, it was like a fashion book where there were drawings in it and watercolory kind of stuff. And I just kind of learned a little bit about how to draw things. Yeah, I mean, kind of like the essential of it is kind of like cuffs always kind of like splay out, and then you can do these like layerings of things, lots of belts, buttons, drawing it from behind, yeah, and then lots of this like kind of piping stuff on the side, cuffs, like I don't know what kind of fold, it's like a pantaloony fold, more graffiti. Yeah, I started like drawing like desks, and it just kind of became this like student thing. Metroid, wild style graffiti. I had this red pen. I don't really mess with red pen that much, but that was fun. I started trying to draw these characters that were like a little more hunched over and kind of like monster-like, and I never quite got it like perfect. But I think I was focusing on the torso more at the time. Drawing my torsos, I was just like learning. This red pen, lots of faces, drawing some dogs, profile faces, got a little bird beak there. Yeah, some random stuff. Yeah, again, I'm just kind of doing this for my own thing, because it's like easier doing this than taking a picture of every page, and talking about it sometimes brings my attention more to things. Definitely like a lot more like brainstorming writing. Got all this space on this page, just lots of heads. This page, man, like lots of brainstorming writing. Just more about just kind of like a generalized brainstorm, sort of aimed at like what to draw, but I mean, I don't know, there's so much stuff there, but at the same time I look at it and I'm like, I always find like my favorite stuff when I write is just like stuff that makes me laugh, really. This guy, like I started drawing him, and this is how I start out a lot with like getting into comedy, is like I'll eventually, I'll draw kind of more serious stuff like robots, and then I'll kind of like get an idea. And it was just this bald profile guy with like a ponytail. And I mean, I immediately saw that as like funny, and I just like wrote a lot of dialogue, and I threw him in this book a lot. This kind of perspective. This was actually a reference, and that's one of the interesting things about going back through these is I immediately remember, yes, I drew this from a reference. This, no, maybe that, yeah, Jimmy Neutron, yeah, that was a reference. And I remember like how difficult it was to draw this pose, but now I look at it and it's like I can see it in my mind a lot better. Yeah, so that, more of these like thumbnails. I was drawing kind of that inside of an apartment overhead thing, throwing hands in 2020. I guess that's when this was done. Yeah, this is definitely a flip-flopping. I always like these 2 pages. I really went all in on these like thumbnail, and like this is kind of reference, but it's pretty much my own thing. Fat dragon, thong. I don't even know. Yeah, just like all this like small stuff, but pretty cool. Not even sure which direction we're going. Yeah, just like lots and lots of heads. This is like the time. I actually watched this guy, Cynics. He had a lot of sketchbook tours, and he showed just like how many heads he sketched, and it really inspired me. I was like, I'm just gonna keep drawing heads, like I don't care. And then also at the time too, yeah, I was like really into this thumbnail thing, which I don't do that much anymore. Mechs and thumbnails, more mechs. Again, some of this was like reference, some of it wasn't. But I mean, that's the secret really, is like, if you feel like your sketchbook is sucking, just throw a couple of references in there and it's like, oh, but it's okay because it's kind of your own thing too, even though you're copying. Half-Life 3, I drew Gordon from it. I think that was just kind of ended up looking like him. These long model characters. Yeah, I haven't looked at this book in a while, and I kind of forgot how much stuff was in it. I spent a lot of time on it. It was like these thumbnails I draw and then try to like render them in and connect them. Again, red pen, kind of a cool thing to use a red pen. Yeah, I remember when I drew this one, it was like the first time I drew like a pretty clean, cool looking head. I was like, yeah. Yeah, just more poses, thumbnails, writing, infinity, DNA loops, kind of crappy. This one is pretty good. Go through this a bit faster. Yeah, doing these more just like simple, kind of city perspectives, futuristic cities, drawing comics. Man, there's a lot of stuff in here. And this is a while ago. I kind of like think I kind of dipped back into becoming a worse artist after this. But this was a good book. I remember I drew this. It was like a kind of like a rest stop vibe, and I wrote a story around it. I don't really do that much. Yeah, maybe the reverse of that. I don't know. If you're ever like out of ideas, just flip things around, flip them upside down or reverse them, spin them around. You'll eventually come up with something new. I started like doing this tag, just kind of like generally like 4 letters, and it was kind of like a J, and I did that a lot. That, yeah. More just kind of like getting used to perspectives, dogs and such. I'm like, I need so much space, dude. Like, if there's anyone that just craves extra space, it's me. I'm always knocking stuff over. Even if I have tons of space, I'm still hitting the edges of things. Skateboarding is part of that. Yeah. This is like 7 a.m. I just woke up. I just want to like kind of knock this out. Yeah. There's that red pen again. Some random stuff. These pages are like not as clean. That's okay. We're just kind of messing around. So the red pen just kind of like stands out. So if you ever got like a page with a bunch of stuff and you would draw over it, just use red pen. Yeah, I was trying to like do this thing where you draw a character and you kind of like rotate it a little bit, and you kind of have these different iterations. Yeah, I actually colored this in. I don't do that enough. It's like I've got markers and colored pencils. I should like color in my stuff. But sometimes when it's like so rendered out, you're like, oh, why even color it? But it's cool. Oh yeah, this page I always liked. This mech turned out kind of cool. If you don't know what to put around it, just do some graffiti lettering, some fake graffiti. Oh yeah, lots of brainstorming, mechs and such. This texture page I spent a long time on. Yeah. Skulls, hands, grabbing things. To that like giraffe mech character. Working on textures and sort of like illusion. I remember I did like a thumbnail of this and I was like, I'm gonna draw it bigger, but it didn't turn out as well as the thumbnail. Yeah, more like kind of Metroid mechs. Lots of really like poorly made, poorly proportioned things. Like that's to really make things look good, especially with humans and bodies. Like you got to dial in the proportions a little more. You kind of got to be like mathematical about it. Make sure you've got that like 8.5 heads. You got to make sure like the hands are like the right size. And if things are off, it kind of like looks weird. But that's drawing, man. Remember I was like pretty stoked on this design, but looking back at it now, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for watching.